to start standing today, so you can go ahead and come up to standing. And just taking a moment, having the feet a comfortable distance width apart, shifting the weight forward and back in your feet. And then eventually coming to a place where the weight feels pretty centered between the front and the back of your feet. Wiggle your toes a little bit. With your next inhale, lift all 10 toes up with the arches of the feet lifting up with the toes. Exhale, release. Inhale, lift the toes and the arches up. Exhale, release. Inhale, lift the toes and the arches up, holding. Feel the arches lifting up, feel the toes lifting up. Root down through any part of your foot that's not your toes or your arches. Feel the leg muscles hugging to the bone, but the knee joint soft. Feel the muscles around the hips hugging in, including pelvic floor muscles lifting in and out. Feel the low ribs, the core engaged, those lift in and up. Hands together in front of the heart, shoulders together on the back, head and neck stacked above the rest of the spine. Feel the breath moving through you here, and just spreading the toes nice and wide apart, keeping this engagement, including the arches lifting, lowering the toes down to the ground, rooting the toes into the earth. Breathe. Let your eyes drift soft or closed, and feel the breath moving through you. So just as you're here, letting the breath begin to lengthen and deepen, balancing out the inhales and the exhales. And with every exhale, rooting down from the hips down into the feet, into the earth. And with every inhale, feel a lightness to the arches of the feet. Feel an expansion from your torso inside out. And feel a lengthening and extension up through the crown of the head. Breathe. And feel how the breath fills as it moves through your body. Connecting deeply into the sensation of breathing. And keeping this connection throughout class. So if at any point you notice your attention has started to drift and wandering, that your thoughts are just coming up random things, then go ahead and come back to the breath. Come back to the attention, the awareness, the sensation of the breath. Also throughout class, just stay deeply connected to yourself. So notice how you feel. Honor whatever that is. And feel free to modify, adjust, and adapt the practice as needed. And that might be micro adjustments, or it might be doing something entirely different. Both are fine. Even when what I say sounds like a command, it's really an invitation. Feel free to modify, adjust, and adapt. All I ask you to do is to breathe and to move with that connection to the breath a little bit. So breathe. We will start with an Om. If you'd like to join in, I'll exhale, inhale, and then Om. Exhaling. Inhale deeply. Take a deep, full breath in. And then as you exhale, let your eyes drift open. Release your arms to the sides. Feeling the shoulders gently on the back. Inhale, moving from the shoulders. Arms come wide and reach up high. Exhale, lower the arms down to the sides. Inhale, the arms come wide and reach up high. Exhale, lower the arms down to the sides. Inhale, arms come wide and reach up high. Right hand can grab left wrist. Exhale, leaning it over to the right side. Inhale, coming up to center. Left hand can grab right wrist. Exhale to the left. Inhale, up to center. Right hand, left wrist. Exhale, right. Inhale to center. Left hand, right wrist. Exhale, left. Inhale, center. Right hand, left wrist. Exhale, right. Inhale, center. Left hand, right wrist. Exhale, left. Inhale, up to center. Exhale, release the hands to the sides. And then here, just do some big, juicy shoulder rolls. Shoulders up and on to the back. If you have a little shoulder tweak, you might want to keep rolling the shoulders back. If your shoulders feel pretty good and you want to do some shoulder rolls forward too, you can. And then you'll go ahead and come back into Tadasana. So taking a moment, just checking the feet out again, rooting down through the feet. Hands together in front of the heart, shoulders together on the back, feeling the breath. Exhale, release the hands to the sides. Inhale, bend your knees, Utkatasana. Act like you're sitting back in the chair. Exhale, back up to standing. Inhale, bend your knees, Utkatasana. Exhale, back up to standing. Inhale, bend your knees, Utkatasana. Exhale, pour the spine forward over the legs. And if possible, bend your knees enough so your torso torso is resting on your legs. If that's not possible for you, don't force it, don't worry about it. And then if possible, keeping the torso close to the legs or on top of the legs. Inhale, just straightening the legs however much works for you. Exhale and bend the knees as wide apart as your feet. Inhale and straightening the legs, keeping the torso pretty close. Exhale and bend the knees as wide apart as your feet. Inhale and straightening the legs. Exhale and bend the knees. With your knees bent, tuck your tailbone under and roll vertebrae by vertebrae all the way up to standing. And once you're all the way up into standing, bring your hands over your sternum. Your hands over the sternum, shoulder blades a little bit on the back. Inhale, lift your sternum up into your hands without moving the head and neck that much. Exhale, release the sternum back to neutral. Inhale, lift the sternum up into your hands. Exhale, release back to neutral. Inhale, lift the sternum up into your hands. Exhale, release back to neutral. Release the arms to the sides. Inhale, arms come wide, reach up high. Exhale, knees bent or straight, folding forward, hands to legs or the floor. Inhale, lengthening the spine nice and long. Exhale and fold in. Inhale, nice long spine, arms come wide, reach all the way up. Exhale, hands together in front of the heart, but keep on moving through. And now take the hands to the base of the sternum, the xiphoid process. And again, keeping everything else pretty neutral. Exhale, gently press into the xiphoid process, collapsing a little bit through the chest. Inhale, lift back up to center. Exhale, collapse down. Inhale, lift back up to center. Exhale, collapsing down. Inhale, back to center. Exhale, release the hands to the side. Inhale, arms come up wide, reach up high. Exhale and fold. Inhale and lengthen. Exhale and fold. Inhale, arms come wide, reach up high. Exhale, hands to your hips. With your hands on your hips, inhale, lift up to the chest. Exhale, drop down. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, collapse down. Inhale, lifting up. Exhale, collapse down. Inhale, come to center with a small lift into the chest, shoulders a little bit on the back. And then here, inhale, arms come wide, reach up high. Shift your weight into your right foot and just take a small step back with your left foot. Your left toe can be up or down. And just with a small step back, stack the right knee on top of the ankle and track it towards the second or third toe. Just notice what this feels like for you. And then press down through the right foot, step the left foot back in. You can lower the arms down. And then inhale, arms come wide, reach up high. Exhale, step the right foot back again, just a small step for right now. Left knee right on top of the ankle, tracking towards the second toe. Also notice when you step the right foot back, a small step, your torso probably stayed pretty vertical. Press down through that left foot, the arms can lower, step the right foot in. Inhale, arms come wide, reach up high. Take a medium-sized step back with the left foot, and you might notice your torso might lean a little bit forward, your hips might lean a little bit forward. Right knee right on top of the ankle, tracking towards second toe, and then go ahead if you want to tilt the hips upright, but you don't have to. And again, just notice what this feels like. Your back heel can be up or down. Press down through that right foot, step the left foot back in, lower the hands down. Inhale, arms come wide, reach up high. Take a medium-sized step back with your right foot. Notice again, if your hips tilt forward, try to level them out. So if your right hip's way higher than the left, just square them. And then go ahead and maybe tilt the hips upright, maybe not, depends on how your hips and low back feel. Press down through the left foot, step the right foot forward. Feels free to stay with medium, or inhale the arms, reach up, and then take a big step back with that left foot. And again, you might have to lean forward through the hips and the torso to do that. Level out the hips, maybe right knee stacks on top of the ankle, maybe with a big step that's harder, so you don't force anything, you just notice where things move. And again, maybe you start to tilt your hips upright, maybe they don't come all the way upright, maybe they just move into a general direction. Maybe back heel up now feels better versus down. Again, you can play with these things and you can make the adjustments you need to. Then press down to the right foot, step the left foot in. Inhale, arms come wide, reach up high, shift the weight to the left, and again, feel free to stay with medium. Or if you want to do big step back, do big step back, try to level out the hips. Left knee moving towards on top of the ankle, but maybe not there, that's fine. Hips maybe staying leaning forward a little bit, or maybe tilting more upright. Maybe you have to lift them up higher, maybe you have to bend the back knee. Again, doing whatever adjustments you need to do, but just noticing the difference between the width of the stance, how different things feel in your body. Then pressing strongly through that left foot, step the right foot forward. Hands together in front of the heart, shoulders together on the back, feel the breath moving through you. Exhale, release the hands to the sides. Inhale, arms come wide and reach up high. Exhale and fold. Inhale Bend the knees deeply, get your hands to the ground. You might have to walk the feet back a little bit, and then we're gonna walk them all the way back, downward facing dog. Press the hips up, back away from you. Go ahead, bend the right knee, stretch out to the left leg. And then bending the left knee, stretching out to the right leg. Bending and straightening the legs, letting the hips move from side to side, feeling the breath move through you. And then when you're ready, with your next exhale, lowering down to all fours, coming to your hands and knees. Let your hips slide back a little bit, so your hips might be a bit closer to your feet, but maybe not all the way into child's pose. Looking at your hands, hands outer shoulder distance width apart. Inhale, lift your wrists up. Exhale and lower back down. Inhale, lift the wrists up. Exhale, lower back down. Inhale, lift the wrists up. If you can hold the wrists lifting up, go ahead and do that. If you need to lower them back down, go ahead and do that, but act like you're lifting them up. And then maybe see if you can bring the shoulders forward over the wrists here. And then inhale, lengthen the spine nice and long, just in all fours, so knees underneath your hips. And then exhale, round the back, look at your navel. Inhale, arch your back, head and tailbone up towards the sky. Moving back and forth to the flow of the breath, maybe doing cat-cow with your wrists lifted up. But again, if you need to lower them down, lower them down. Just notice how things go. And then with your next inhale, come back to a nice neutral spine. Exhale, child's pose, feet together, knees a little bit apart. Hips back towards your heels, head towards the ground, breathing into the fullness of your back body. And then with your next inhale, slide your way forward onto your belly. Rest your head on your hands, gently rock the hips a little side to side. Eventually bringing the hips back to center, pressing the hips down with your knees facing down, stretch long through the legs, toes on the ground. Bring the arms to either side of the torso, fingers pointing towards the toes, and with your hips staying nice and rooted, inhale, float up through the shoulders. Exhale, lower back down. Inhale, floating up. Exhale and lower back down. Inhale, float up, holding this lift up to the shoulders. You can flip the hands forward so your hands are underneath your biceps or your elbows. Act like you're dragging your hands back to get a little bit of traction in the low back. And gently moving from side to side here. Maybe keeping your hips pinned in place, maybe not. Eventually coming back to center with your torso and making your way back into a child's pose. Breathe. Inhale up to all fours. Exhale, round the back, look at the navel. Inhale, stretch the spine long. Lift the right leg up, back behind you. Leg nice and level, hips nice and level. Exhale, right knee into the nose, rounding the back. Inhale, lift the right leg up, back behind you. Exhale, the right knee to the nose, rounding the back. Inhale, lift the right leg up. Exhale, step the right foot forward towards your right hand. So feel free to grab that foot and slide, wiggle, scoop. And then from here, with the right knee on top of the ankle, just make sure your left knee isn't maybe directly under the hips unless you can't move it. Just maybe slide it back a little bit. You can also take a moment here and put more mat under the left knee, because as you're ready, we're going to walk our hands up to the right knee. Okay. Hugging in from your feet to your hips. Once you feel stable, hands to your hips. Press down through your hips, especially the right hip, and lift the low back up out of the hips. Moving the shoulders and the elbows towards each other on the back, and then lifting your sternum up toward the sky a little bit, letting the head follow, curling the chest up. Feel the bottom tips of the shoulder blades lifting the chest up, breathing here. And then inhale, moving through the chest, coming back upright. Exhale, lower the hands down, and step the right foot back, all fours. Inhale, the left leg lengthens back behind you. Exhale, left knee into the nose. Inhale, left leg extends. Exhale, left knee into the nose. Inhale and open up. And then exhale the left foot forward towards your left hand, sliding, wiggle, scooting. Maybe wiggle that right knee back a little bit. Maybe pad that right knee up. Once you feel ready, walking your hands up to the left knee. Hug in from your feet to your hips, engaging through your leg muscles. Bring your hands to your hips. Press the hips down, especially that left hip. Lift the low back up. And then maybe with our elbows and shoulders moving toward each other, curl the chest up toward the sky. Breathing here, nice full deep breaths. And then Inhale, coming up through the chest. Exhale, lower the hands down. And then when you're ready, step the left foot back, all fours. Inhale, stretch the spine nice and long. Exhale, downward facing dog. Look forward at your hands, bend the knees, walk your feet towards the hands or the hands towards the feet. And then once all the weight's in your feet, inhale, lengthen the spine, sliding the hands up the legs. Exhale and fold. Inhale, nice long spine, arms come wide, reach all the way up towards the sky. Exhale, hands together in front of the heart. With your next exhale, release your hands to your hips with your knees foot distance apart. Go ahead and bend your knees, but more sitting straight down through the hips and tuck the hips under a little bit. And then go ahead and come back straight. Exhale, bend the knees a little bit, tuck your hips under a little bit, come back straight. Go ahead and bend your knees, tuck your hips under a lot, and then inhale and tilt your hips back to neutral. Exhale, tuck your hips under a lot. Inhale, back to neutral. Exhale, tuck your hips under a lot. Inhale, back to neutral. Go ahead and straighten the legs. Bring your hands to your belly. Actually, I take that back. Bring your right hand to your belly. Take your left hand to your low ribs. With your right hand on your belly, try to keep your low ribs in place. And inhale, just push out through the belly. And then exhale, squeeze your belly in. Inhale, push out through the belly. Exhale, squeeze your belly in. Inhale, push out through the belly, low ribs not really moving. Exhale, squeeze the belly in. Okay, keep a little bit of engagement of the belly. So don't squeeze it in for dear life, but it's engaged. And now with the low ribs, inhale, lift the low ribs up, pushing those out. Exhale, draw those back in. Inhale, lift the low ribs up, pushing those out, but keeping your core, your belly, well, not your core, the core to keep your belly engaged. Exhale, come back to neutral. And then inhale again, try to push the low ribs out. Exhale, bring that back in too. Okay, now from here, hands to your hips. Think of the sternum. Keep this now pretty still, but the low ribs will move with the sternum. Inhale, lift the sternum up and center. Exhale, release. Now, inhale, try to lift the sternum up to the left. Exhale, back to center. And then inhale, try to lift your sternum up more to the right. Exhale, back to center and neutral. Inhale, lift the sternum up and center. Exhale, back to neutral. Inhale, lift your sternum up to the right. Exhale, back to neutral. Inhale, lift your sternum up to the left. Exhale, back to neutral. Go ahead, soften everything, shake everything out. And then come back to standing at the top of your mat if you move like I did. Hands together in front of the heart, shoulders together on the back. Feel the breath moving through you. Exhale, release the hands. Inhale, bend your knees, Utkatasana. Shift your weight to your right foot. Good size step back with the left. Again, whatever works for you. Then moving through those hips, rising up only as much as you want to. And then exhale, we're going to actually lower the hands all the way down, maybe to the floor. Maybe that's too far for you. Maybe they just hover. And then inhale, tilting the hips, coming as upright as works for you. Hands lift up again. Legs stay nice and steady. Exhale, go ahead and lower the hands back down. Inhale, arms can come wide and lift up, moving those hips. Exhale and lower down. So now with your hands on the ground, go ahead, bring both hands inside the right foot. Turn your left toes to the left. Press your right knee to the right. Walk your hands a little bit to the left and stretch your low back, your spine out of the hips. If you want to walk your hands in front of the shoulders and come into a more downward facing dog with the torso, you can. Breathing here, nice full deep breaths. And then go ahead and walk your hands back over to the right foot. Lift the left toe up. Hands come to either side of the right foot. And again, tilting the hips, coming back up. And then pressing strongly through the right foot, step the left foot forward. Hands together in front of the heart, shoulders together on the back, feel the breath. Exhale, release the hands. Inhale, bend your knees, Utkatasana. Shift your weight to your left foot. Right foot goes back. And then maybe tilting those hips up, coming more upright, maybe not. And then exhale, go ahead and tilt the hips forward, lowering the hands maybe to the ground, but maybe again not. Maybe they just hover. Inhale, coming upright, tilting those hips. Exhale, lowering back down. Inhale and lifting up. Exhale and lower back down with the hands on the ground. Both hands inside the left leg. Turn the right toes to the right. Press your left knee gently to the left. Hands can walk a little bit to the right. And with your inhale, expand through the spine, feeling the hips and the thighs, pressing back for the wall behind you. Maybe walk your hands a little bit in front of the shoulders. And maybe do a bit of a downward facing dog through the upper body. Breathing here. Nice full deep breaths. And then go ahead and walk your hands back and lift the right heel back up. Hands to come to either side of the front foot if that works for you. And again, coming to your hips and your core. Inhale, tilting the hips upright, coming back up. And then exhale, press strongly to the left foot, step the right foot forward. Hands together in front of the heart, shoulders together on the back, feel the breath moving through you. Exhale, release the hands to the side. Inhale, arms come wide and reach up high. Exhale and fold. Inhale and lengthen. Exhale and fold. Bend your knees deeply, hands to the ground, step back, downward facing dog. Inhale forward into plank pose, shoulders forward over the wrists. You can slide the knees back a little bit. And then exhale back up to a downward facing dog. Breathing here, just feeling the length in the spine. Inhale back forward into a plank pose. Exhale, lower the knees, point your toes. And then inhale, point the chest forward through the shoulders, letting the shoulders move back, hips move forward and down, only as much as works for you. And then exhale, hips back towards your feet, again, only as much as works for you. Inhale, chest moves forward through the shoulders, shoulders move back, hips forward and down. Exhale, hips back towards your feet. Inhale, modified up dog, chest forward through the shoulders. And then exhale, bend your elbows, lower all the way down to your belly. Root down through the hips, stretch long through the legs, knees facing down. Float your hands up. With your hands floating up, inhale, curling up through the chest, feel the shoulders on the back. Exhale and lower back down. Inhale, curling up through the chest. Exhale, lower back down. Inhale, curl up through the chest, hold, keep the shoulders on the back. Exhale, lower the hands down. Act like you're going to pull the hands back and start to do shoulder rolls up and on the back. So shoulder rolls back, gently swaying from side to side. Okay. Come back to center here. Exhale, lower all the way down. Inhale, press up to all fours. Exhale, stay in all fours or back to a downward facing dog. And then when you're ready, inhale, the right leg lifts up high, hips nice and level. Exhale, right knee to the nose, maybe shoulders forward over the wrists. Inhale, right leg lifts up high. Exhale, right foot forward towards your right hand, sliding, wiggle, scooting. Press down through your feet, hug into your hips. Inhale, tilting the hips, coming as upright as works comfortably for you. Feel free to stay here, or right hand can grab left wrist, and you can do the side body stretch to the right. Breathe. And then inhale, come back up to center. Exhale, lower the hands back down. Step the right foot back, downward facing dog. Inhale, the left leg lifts. Exhale, left knee to the nose, maybe shoulders forward over the wrists. Inhale, left leg lifts. Exhale, left foot forward to the left hand, sliding, wiggle, scooting. Hug in from your feet to your hips, maybe set your feet up slightly different. But when you're ready, tilting those hips all the way upright, or as upright as works for you. Feel free to stay in center, or left hand, right wrist. Exhale, leaning over to the left. Breathe. Nice, full, deep breaths. And then inhale, come back up. And you can press strongly through that left foot. You might need to hop the right foot a little bit closer, but eventually you can hop, slide, scoot forward. Coming to a nice Tadasana at the top of the mat. Hands together in front of the heart, shoulders together on the back. Feel the breath moving through you. Exhale, release the hands to the sides. Inhale, arms come wide, reach up high. Exhale and fold. Inhale and lengthen. Exhale and fold. Inhale, arms come wide, reach all the way up towards the sky. Exhale, hands to your hips. Go ahead, bend your knees a little bit with the hips tucked a little under, and just go ahead and rock the hips. And then go ahead and come back to center with that, and just press hips from side to side. And then go ahead and come back to center with that. You can straighten the legs. And with your legs straight, what we're going to do is inhale, roll the shoulders up and onto the back, lifting up through the chest, opening through the throat. And then exhale, roll the shoulders forward, collapse down to the chest, look down at your feet. Inhale, shoulders roll up and onto the back, lift up through the chest. Exhale, rolling the shoulders forward, collapse down to the chest, look at your feet. Inhale, shoulders roll onto the back, opening up. Exhale, shoulders roll forward, collapsing down. Go ahead and come back to center here. And again, slight lift through the chest. And then when you're ready, go ahead, turn and face the long end of the mat and open your feet nice and wide apart. Lining your feet up with each other. And then when you're ready, left toes turn towards the right toes a little bit. And right toes turn all the way out to the right. Right knee tracks towards your second toe. With your right knee tracking towards your second toe, exhale and bend that right knee. Inhale and straighten. Exhale and bend. Inhale and straighten. Exhale and bend. With the right knee bent, feel your hips opening gently to the left, left thigh pressing back, and keeping the right knee where it is. And then hands can float up to a T, and you can look over the right fingers, Warrior 2, Virabhadrasana 2. But if you ever want to, you can lean a little bit into that right hip if that feels better for you. More like a Parsvakonasana, or you can keep the hips more vertical, looking over the right fingers. And then go ahead, bring your hands back to your hips, straightening that right leg only as much as works for you, leaning into that right hip, letting the right hip drop, lowering the right hand wherever is comfortable for you. If your hand's on your shin, press the shin up into the hand, and left hand can lift up toward the sky. And just here, feel the shoulders gently moving towards each other on the back, and flying your head and neck up with the rest of the spine. And then pressing down through the feet, come all the way back up, soften through your knees, right toes turn towards left toes turn all the way out, left knee tracks towards your second toe. Exhale and bend. Inhale and straighten. Exhale and bend. Inhale and straighten. Exhale and bend, and keeping that left knee bent. And again, the right hip or the right thigh gently presses back and lets that hip open to the right, but only as much as feels comfortable. Hands can float up, and you can look over those left fingers, breathing here. Nice, full, deep breath. Warrior 2, Virabhadrasana 2. And then go ahead and bring your hands back to your hips, straightening that left leg. It's still tracking towards your second toe. Dropping into that left hip, only as much as works for you. And then left hand comes wherever comfortable. Left shin pressing up into your hand if your hand's on the shin. Right hand can lift up to the sky. Head and neck in line with the rest of the spine. In fact, take a moment, bring your head into neutral, looking forward, and just press the back of the head back a little bit, breathing through the back of the head. And then you can look up or down if you want to. Breathe. Pressing down through your feet, come all the way back up. Turn all 10 toes for a moment to face along into the mat. And then with your legs pretty straight, we're going to turn out from the hips. So the way you know you're turning out through the hips and not so much through the feet is if your knees are still pointing towards your second toes. If your feet are turned out more than your knees, then turn your feet in a little bit. And then from here, inhale, the arms come wide and reach up high. And then keep your knees tracking towards the second toe. Keep the spine long. Keep your low ribs engaged. Keep the core engaged, as we practiced earlier. We're going to exhale and bend the knees and bend the elbows, only as much as feels good. And then inhale and straighten. Exhale and bend. Inhale and straighten. Be careful not to let those low ribs collapse out. Exhale and bend with your low ribs engaged. Only bending as much as feels good for you. Keeping the bend. You can move a little side to side here. Knees still tracking towards second toe. You can circle around through the hips. You can change the direction of the circles. Feel the breath moving through. And then go ahead and come back to center, maybe just holding center for a breath or two, noticing how that feels. And then press down through the feet, come all the way up with your knees soft, heel toe, your feet all the way in towards each other. Shake it out and turn and face the skinny end of the mat. Hands together in front of the heart, shoulders together on the back, feel the breath moving through you. Exhale, release the hands to the sides. Inhale, arms come wide and reach up high. Exhale and fold. Inhale and lengthen. Exhale and fold. Bend your knees, step back, downward facing dog. Lower down to hands and knees, coming to all fours. And then bring your elbows down underneath your shoulders. Keep your hips nice and still, so not tilting those so much. Your hands can be clasped, they can be apart with the palms facing down. They can be turned to the side in fists. But wherever you're at, inhale, press down through your elbows. Make a hill between the shoulders. And then exhale, soften right between the shoulder blades, creating a valley, shoulder blades on the back. Inhale, create a hill between the shoulder blades off the back. Exhale, create a valley between the shoulder blades on the back. Inhale, create a hill. Exhale, create a valley. With that valley, with the shoulder blades on the back, start to walk your knees back. Maybe bring your hips so they're level with the shoulders, coming into a low plank. You can keep your knees on the ground, or you can curl the toes under and lift the knees up here. Breathe. And then if you want to do some more shoulder flossing in the low plank, you can inhale the shoulders off the back. Exhale the shoulders on the back. Inhale, shoulders off the back. Exhale, shoulders on the back. Inhale, shoulders off the back. Exhale, shoulders on the back. Go ahead, lower the knees and the hips all the way down to the ground. Point your toes, Sphinx pose. Pulling the chest forward through the shoulders here. Nice, full, deep breaths. And then exhale, lower the hands all the way down. Make a pillow with the hands. Gently rock the hips from side to side. Unwinding into center with the hips, pressing the hips down, stretching long through the legs and the feet. Bring the hands to either side of the torso. Hands underneath the biceps, or maybe slide them back so they're underneath your elbows. Pull the chest forward through the shoulders. Feel the shoulders gently on the back for a moment. And then start to roll the shoulders onto the back again. So shoulder rolls back again. Feel free to stay low like we did the first time, or slowly pressing down through the hands. Keep rolling the shoulders back and maybe lifting up a little bit. And then maybe lowering back down. And we'll just do this a few times. So just rolling the shoulders back, maybe lifting up, and then lowering back down. And then one more time, maybe lifting up. And then lowering all the way back down. Once you're back down, rest your head on the hands, gently rock the hips from side to side a bit. And then coming back into center and making your way back into a child's pose. Breathe. Nice, full, deep breaths. Inhale, up to all fours. Exhale, around the back, look at your navel. Inhale, stretch the spine nice and long. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, right leg lifts up high. Exhale, right foot forward towards your right hand. Go ahead and step your left foot in a medium amount. Bring the left heel down. And then from here, again, tilting the hips, spine nice and long, lifting all the way up. As you do, though, this time, though, you can straighten that right leg, so right leg straight. And then exhale your hands to your hips. With your hands on your hips, squaring the hips towards the front of the room. Inhale, lengthen the spine. And then exhale, tilting at the hips, keeping the spine nice and long. So if your back starts to round, you've gone too far. Right leg staying fairly straight, but again, if you need to bend it a little bit, that's fine. Press your hips back, lengthen through the spine, out through the crown of the head, and then inhale the arms into airplane wings. Feel free to stay here, or exhale and stretch the arms alongside by your ear. Feeling that outer right hip lengthening back, feeling the chest and the spine lengthening forward. And then inhale, coming all the way back up through the torso. Exhale, go ahead and bend the right knee. Lower the hands down towards the ground. And walk your feet all the way back into a downward facing dog. Breathe. When you're ready, inhale, the left leg lifts. Exhale, the left foot forward towards your left hand. Pressing down through the left foot, step your right foot in, narrower stance. And then inhale, tilting the hips, coming all the way up, straightening that left leg as you do. Hands to the hips, square the hips towards the front of the room. Inhale and lengthen the spine. Exhale, tilting at the hips, folding forward. But again, only to a place where you keep the spine extending. And also, if your right hip feels like it's lifting way up higher than the left, try to drop the right hip down a little bit. You might need to move the right foot to the right to do that. And then inhale the arms into airplane position. And then exhale, if it works for you, take the arms alongside by the ears. So you have to work the core quite a bit to hold here, feeling that outer left hip moving back. Breathe. And then inhale and come back up. Exhale, bend that left knee and lower the hands down. And go ahead and press down to that left foot and step the right foot forward. Inhale and lengthen. Exhale and fold. Inhale, arms come wide, reach all the way up to the sky. Exhale, hands together in front of the heart, but then we're going to drop them all the way down to the hips and bend the knees a little bit, scooping the hips, the tailbone under a little bit, so that small top. And then here, again, just kind of moving the hips from side to side. And then we're going to come back to center here. And what I want you to do is move the hips forward, but feel the low back lifting up out of the hips, chest lifts up a little bit. And then exhale, move the hips back, tilting the forward at the hips a little bit. And then inhale, hips move forward, low back lifts up. Exhale, hips move back. Be careful your knees and your thighs don't spin out too much when you inhale and move the hips forward. And then exhale and tilt back. And then go ahead and release the hands, come back to center. And then just with the knees soft, move the hips a little side to side. And then start to do big circles. But you could even collapse the chest forward. But just when the hips are forward, really feeling the low back lift up out of the hips. And then go ahead and change the direction of the circles. Making your way back to center here. And once you're back into center, hips a little bit tucked under. And then again, notice your core muscles, your belly, and notice the low ribs and the separation between those two. So what we're gonna do here is you're gonna tuck the hips under, and then you're gonna pull the core in and let the low ribs collapse down a little bit, and then you're just gonna release to neutral. So tuck the hips under, then pull the low ribs in, collapsing down a little bit, and then release to neutral. Tuck your hips under, pull the low ribs in, down a little bit, collapsing, and then come back to neutral, and then shake it out. And then doing belly rolls down to up. So go ahead, knees a little bit soft, tuck your hips under, pull the core in, collapse the low ribs down, then lift up to the sternum, all with the head pretty centered, and then release to neutral. Tuck hips under, pull belly in, collapse low ribs down, then lift the sternum up, then release back to neutral. Tuck under, pull in, collapse down, lift chest up, release to neutral. Sometimes there's an added seat action to this. So sometimes, just like Utkatasana, but the hips don't move back quite so much, you actually almost, when you're doing this, sit down a little bit more and then pop, sit down a little bit more, pop, sit down a little bit more, and pop. So you can play with that. Okay, come back to center, shake it out. Standing at the top of the mat. Hands together in front of the heart, shoulders together on the back. Feel the breath moving through you. Exhale, release the hands to the sides. Inhale, arms come wide and reach up. Exhale and pull. Inhale and lengthen. Exhale and pull. Inhale, arms come wide, reach all the way up toward the sky. Exhale, hands together in front of the heart. And then we're going to do warrior three. So that's technically a bouncing pose. You might want to take a step off the mat. What we're going to do is we're going to start with the right foot a little bit forward, left foot a little bit back, hips square towards the front, bend the right knee. Inhale, lengthen the spine. Exhale, tilting the hips forward, keeping them level, hands into airplane. As you're ready, you can shift the weight into your right foot, hips staying level, so the left knee and toes stay facing down. You can lift that foot up if you want to. If the left hip starts to lift up higher than the right though, maybe try to drop it down a little bit. Feel free to stay here. Or again, if you want to, you can stretch the arms alongside by the ears, pulling that outer right hip back. Breathe. Nice full deep breaths. And then softening the right knee, set the left foot down, coming all the way back up. And switching sides. Left foot a little bit forward, right foot a little bit back. Hands to your hips, hips squaring towards the front. Lengthen through the spine, tilting those hips. Arms can come to airplane, shift the weight to your left foot, right toes. You can keep the toes on the ground, or you can float the right leg up, trying to keep the right hip and the left hip level. And then if you want to, you can stretch your arms by the ears. Breathe. Nice full deep breaths. And then go ahead and set that foot down. And go ahead and step the right foot in. Shake it out a little bit. Knees soft. Do gentle hip circles. And again, if you want to do bigger hip circles, do bigger ones. And then come back to center here. Bring your hands to your hips. Lift up to the chest. Drop it down. Move the chest to the right. Move the chest to the left. Notice what it feels like to lift your chest up to the right. Come back to center. Notice what it feels like to lift the chest up to the left. Come back to center. And then maybe just smoothing things out into chest circles. So maybe circling the chest around. And then maybe changing the direction. But if chest circles are hard for you, again, you can play with lifting the chest up into different angles, dropping the chest down. And just knowing there's lots of room around here. And then come back to center here and standing at the top of the mat. Hands together in front of the heart, shoulders together on the back. Feel the breath moving through you. Exhale, release the hands to the sides. Inhale, arms come wide and reach up. Exhale and fold. Inhale and lengthen. Exhale and fold. Bend the knees, step back into a plank pose. Feel free to have the knees on the ground, but if you don't, make sure that your core is really strongly hugged in. Those low ribs are pulling back towards the spine. Head and neck in line with the rest of the spine, and then make a little bit of a valley between the shoulder blades without losing those low ribs. And then from here, if you want to, slowly lower down. If you need to come down some other way, come down some other way. Once your hips are on the ground, you can point the toes, pull the chest forward, sway a little side to side, snake your way up. And then making your way all the way back down. And then just go ahead, rest your head on the hands, and gently rock the hips from side to side. Come back into center with the hips. Bring the hands to either side of the chest. Stay low this time for the chest, just moving the shoulders gently on the back, and start to sway from side to side again. And then the next time you're leaning over to your left side, you can lift the right leg up, stretch the right leg back behind you. And then inhale to center, and exhale, lean to your right leg side, stretch the left leg back. Inhale to center, exhale to the left side, stretch the right leg back. Inhale to center, exhale to the right side, stretch the left leg back. Inhale to center, exhale to the left side, stretch the right leg back. Inhale to center, exhale to the right side, stretch the left leg back. Inhale back to center, make a pillow with your hands, and gently rock your hips from side to side. Come back to center with your hips, root the hips down, stretch long through the legs, and then here, float up through their elbows, so feel the shoulders lifting up too. You can stay here, or you can lift up through the chest, lifting the head up, and if you want, you can stretch the legs long and float up through the feet, coming into a Shalabhasana variation. Notate which hand is on top. So right now, my left hand is on top. I'll want to remember that later. Go ahead and lower back down. Gently rock the hips from side to side. Come back to center with your hips. Bring your hands back to either side of the chest. Lift up through your shoulders a little bit and start to sway from side to side again. We're going to do the leg lifts again, but this time when you roll to the left, if you want to, the right knee can be bent, and you can try to tap the right foot back behind you, and then inhale back to center, and then exhale to the right, and you can try to tap the left leg back behind you. Inhale back to center, exhale to the left, the right leg lifts, exhale back to center, inhale to the right, left leg lifts, inhale back to center, exhale to the left, right leg lifts, inhale back to center, exhale to the right, left leg lifts. Inhale back to center. So if you remembered what hand's on top, was on top before, do the opposite hand this time and rest your head on your hands, rocking the hips. And then come back to center here, press down through the hips, float up to the elbows and the shoulders, stretch long through the legs. If you want to float up through the chest, the head will lift up. And if you want to, stretching back to those feet, float up through the feet. Breathing here, Shalabhasana variation. Nice, full, deep breaths. And then exhale, go ahead and release. Gently rock the hips a little side to side. Come back to center with the hips and prop yourself up on your elbows, elbows underneath the shoulders. Pulling the chest forward through the shoulders, knees outer hip distance width apart now. Press strongly through the hips so the low back doesn't contract on you. And then exhale and bend your knees. And inhale and straighten. Exhale and bend. Inhale and straighten. Exhale and bend, holding here, pressing down through the forearms, pulling the chest forward through the shoulders, breathe. And then exhale, lower all the way back down. Rest your head on the hands, gently rock the hips from side to side. Feel free to repeat Makrasana, or come back to center with the hips, press the hips down, arms to either side of you. Float up through the shoulders, then keeping the hips rooted, bend the knees, and then maybe, if it works for you, grabbing your feet. You can kick the feet back into your hands. If you want to float up to the knees, you can. Pulling the chest forward through the shoulders. Breathe. Dhanurasana. And then exhale, And make your way, as you feel ready, back into a child's pose. Nice full deep breaths. Make your way up to sitting. Legs straight forward out in front of you. Knees and toes pointing up to the sky, hands back behind you. Press down through your legs and your hips. Lift up to the low back, open through the chest, open through the throat, breathing. Then keep that lift in the low back and maybe come up to your fingertips and start to walk your hands in. Now, if you feel like your hips are tucking under, bend your knees and just make sure you're lifting that low back up out of the hips here. Breathe, Dandasana variation. And then exhale, soften things a bit. Bend your right knee. If you want to cross the right foot over the left leg, press down through the hips, especially the right hips, lifting up through the spine. Right hand can come back behind you, twisting to the right. If you want to cross the left arm over the right leg, you may do that as well. Feel the breath moving through you. Exhale, unwind. Take your left hand back behind you. Take your right arm inside the right leg, reaching for the foot or the ankle. Lift it up and pull the leg back with your knee bent. Again, ankle or foot. Sitting up nice and tall here. And then taking the right foot across the left leg, doing some baby cradle action. Okay. From here, options. You can take the right foot inside the left leg, or the more of a Janushasana leg, or you can try to stack the right knee on top of the left knee, more half a Gomukhasana leg. And then when you're ready here, bring both hands back behind you. Sitting up nice and tall, inhale, the left hand lifts up towards the sky, and then with your chin in neutral, head pressing back, cup the base of the skull with the left hand. Bring your left elbow forward and pull that left shoulder onto the back, making your armpit deeper, more hollow. Feel free to stay here. Or if you can sit up nice and tall, gently roll the right shoulder on the back too. Take the back of the right hand to the low back. Feel free to stay here. Or if you want to, you can slide the left hand down more. You can slide the right hand up more. As you do that, slide the right hand up more. Try to let the right elbow drop down a little bit. So trying to change that rotation. But both bottom tips of the shoulders moving towards you on the back. If you have really open shoulders and you want to do a hand clasp, you could. But it's not really necessary. You probably feel that right now. And if you want to intensify all of this, you can gently fold forward. Breathe. And then inhale, come back up. Unravel the arms, uncross the leg. Straighten the right leg, bend the left knee, and if you want to, cross the left foot over. Sit up nice and tall here, left hand back behind you, twisting to the left. If you want to bring the right arm across the left leg, you can do that. Breathe. And then inhale, unwind. Right hand back behind you. Left hand to your ankle or the left foot, lift the leg up. Pull the knee back for the wall behind you, trying to sit up nice and tall. And then rocking the leg, the left leg with the knee bent across the right. And again, just depending on your hips. Left foot can be inside the right leg, or you can try to stack your left knee more on top of the right leg. So whichever works for you. Hands back behind you a little bit. Sit up nice and tall. Inhale, right hand lifts up to the sky, head and neck in neutral, back of head presses back. Right hand cups the base of the skull. Right elbow forward and try to suck that shoulder onto the back. Feel free to stay here. Or left shoulder gently rolling on the back, back of left hand to low back. Feel free to stay here. Or sliding the left hand maybe up and the right hand maybe down. If you do slide the left hand up, maybe try to release the left elbow down a little bit. And then you can stay sitting up nice and tall here. Or remember, if you do fold forward, it will intensify the shoulder stretch. So just being aware of that and breathing wherever you are at. mat distance width apart and move your hips forward here. So happy baby sitting. With your feet mat distance width apart, grab your knees and try to pull back on your knees and sit up nice and tall. So you're almost trying to pull your knees, well, you're not trying, almost trying. Well, you are almost trying. Trying to pull your knees towards your armpits as you sit up nice and tall. Okay. From here, again, reach inside the legs and either grab ankles or flex your feet and grab your feet. Okay. Yeah. And then from here, kind of just start to rock and move a little bit. And then what you're going to do is you're going to try to start to walk your feet forward a little bit. And then you're going to maybe try to walk the hips back at the same time. So walking hips back, feet forward. And just eventually unwinding yourself, but giving yourself time, so this is not a hurried action, into your version of a forward fold today. Breathe. Nice, full, deep breaths. Go ahead and come back up. And you can adjust where you are on the mat. You can just make your way to your back if you want to. But if you're feeling pretty strong through your core and you want to roll with control down onto your back, you can roll with control down onto your back. Once you're on your back, you might need to adjust and then hug the knees into the chest, coming into a ball, gently rocking. Let go of your knees. Draw circles on the ceiling with the knees in one direction, massaging out the hips on the low back. And then draw the circles on the ceiling with the knees in the other direction. With your knees bent, lower the feet to the ground, feet outer hip distance width apart. Bring your arms along the sides, but bend your elbows so your fingers are pointing up to the sky, palms facing in towards each other. Wiggle the shoulders towards each other on the back here. You also might need to wiggle the shoulders up towards your ears a little bit. Press down through the back of the head with your chin in neutral. Press down through your shoulders and lift up some through the chest. Then ground down through your feet, but let your hips sway from side to side. So just rocking your hips a little side to side. The next time your hips end up over on the left side a little bit, I want you just to lift them up a little bit. So your left hip will be closer to the ground than the right hip. And then keep them just this little bit of lift and drop your right hip down and lift the left hip up. So now hovering the hips just an inch or two off the ground, but rocking them from side to side. Dropping one hip down and then the other closer to the ground. Maybe even doing butt taps on the ground if you want to. Okay. Feel free to keep the hips low here. Or much like cobra through the shoulders earlier today, you can slowly walk your hips up and then slowly walk the hips back towards the ground. And then slowly walk your hips up, maybe on an inhale, but it might also take more than one breath, and that's fine. Just stay connected to the breath. Exhale and walk the hips back down. And then inhale and walk your hips back up. If you want to, with your hips up however high is comfortable, you can even the hips back out, feel the chest lifting up, and then stretch your knees and your hips towards the front of the room and stretch the chest towards the back. Breathing here. Nice full deep breaths. If you really want to have fun, you can come up to your tippy toes, walk your feet in a little bit more, maybe lift the hips up higher, and maybe slide your palms underneath the tops of your hips. Breathe. If you did slide your hands underneath the hips, slide them out, maybe walk your feet a little bit forward, and slowly lower all the way back down. Bring the hands to the tops of the thighs. Press the tops of the thighs away from you, gently swaying the knees from side to side. And then coming into center and hugging the knees into the chest, coming into a ball, gently rocking from side to side. And then coming back to center here, open the hands into a T position, or if you want to, you can bend the elbows and do cactus, but if either of these are too much for your shoulders, you can do airplane instead. Pressing down through the shoulders and the back of the head, you can lower the feet to the ground for a gentler twist or keep them lifted. When you're ready, shoulders and back of the head stay steady. Exhale the knees over to the right. Inhale up to center. Exhale the knees to the left. Inhale, up to center. Exhale to the right. Inhale, up to center. Exhale to the left. Inhale to center. Exhale the knees to the right, holding the knees on the right side if you like. Left shoulder nice and heavy. And maybe gently turning your head to look over the left shoulder. Breathe. And then inhale up to center. Exhale the knees over to the left. Right shoulder releases towards the ground. And maybe gently turning your head to look over the right shoulder if that feels like a good idea for your neck. Breathing here. And then inhale, come back up to center. Hug the knees into the chest, coming into a ball, gently rocking. Feel free to stay here, open the knees wider apart, maybe stretching the spine a bit longer as you pull the knees towards your armpits. And then you can flip the feet up to the sky, holding onto the back of your knees, the lower legs, or your feet as you rock from side to side. And even though you are pulling down through the arms with the legs, you might also want to press the legs back up into your hands a little bit. Unwinding into center, full body stretch. Stretch the arms up above the head, legs along the ground. Lengthen your tailbone towards your feet. And then finishing with a few moments in Shavasana. Arms by the sides, palms face up. Legs wider apart than the hips. Tailbone reaching towards your feet and relaxing here. If this is not super comfortable for you, feel free to bend your knees. Feel free to bring the feet together and have the knees apart. Feel free to do whatever works for you. But once you're someplace that's comfortable, that you can relax into, soften or close the eyes and turn back to the breath. Now, with every exhale, just let yourself release a little bit more. Noticing if any muscles feel like they're trying to grip or grab or hold you upright. And just with the exhales, letting those muscles melt into the earth. Let your bones feel heavy. Let your skin feel soft. And whenever you're as relaxed as you're going to get, just let go of the breath and let yourself rest. back to your breath. Feel the breath moving through you. As you're ready, coming into small movements, wiggling fingers and toes, circling ankles and wrists, stretching arms and legs. And then when you feel ready, you hug the knees into the chest, coming into a ball, gently rocking. And then easing your way all the way over onto your side, pausing. Traditionally right, letting the heart turn to the ground. But if you need to roll left, you can. And if being on your side doesn't work for you, you don't have to. With as little effort as possible, easing your way to a comfortable sitting position. Keeping the sense of connection to yourself and the earth and the breath throughout the transition. We will end with an Om. Hands can come together in front of the heart. Exhaling. Inhale. Thank you so much for coming. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy.